My name is Lettie Washington, and I'm 74 years old. Yesterday morning, my daughter Estelle and her husband Floyd cut off my cell phone service to stop me from calling Adult Protective Services about the financial abuse I'd been experiencing. "If you can't call anyone, you can't cause problems," Estelle said coldly when I discovered my phone had been disconnected. "Mom, you need to understand we're in charge now. We control your money, your house, your communication. You'll do what we say or things will get much worse." I stood in my own living room, the house I'd owned for 40 years, holding my dead cell phone, realizing my own daughter had deliberately silenced me to prevent me from reporting that she and her husband had stolen over $80,000 from my bank accounts. But what Estelle and Floyd didn't know was that cutting off my phone wouldn't stop me from getting help. Because the next morning, I walked 3 blocks to the police station, and I used a different line to report what they'd done to me. The law's line. And when I filed my police report, I set in motion a chain of events that would destroy Estelle and Floyd's scheme, expose years of financial exploitation, and send them both to prison. But to understand how I ended up in this situation, isolated, financially abused, and silenced by my own daughter, I need to take you back to where this nightmare began. 2 years ago, my husband Theodore died at age 76 from complications of diabetes. We'd been married for 53 years. Theodore and I had built a comfortable life together. We owned our house, a modest 3-bedroom home worth about $320,000, fully paid off. We had savings of approximately $150,000 in various bank accounts. We had Social Security and Theodore's pension, which continued to pay me $1,800 per month after his death, supplementing my own Social Security of $1,400 per month. We weren't wealthy, but we were financially secure, and I planned to stay that way through my remaining years. Theodore and I had one daughter, Estelle, who was 52 when Theodore died. Estelle had married Floyd Mitchell 25 years earlier, and they had 2 adult children of their own. Estelle and Floyd had always struggled financially. Floyd worked sporadically in construction, often going months without employment. Estelle worked as a retail manager but never made much money. They'd filed for bankruptcy once, had their car repossessed twice, and were constantly asking us for financial help. Theodore and I had helped them many times over the years, paying for car repairs, covering rent when they were short, lending money they never repaid. We did it because Estelle was our daughter and we wanted to help. But Theodore had always been careful about how much we gave them. "Lettie, we need to protect our retirement," Theodore would say whenever Estelle asked for money. "We can help a little, but we can't support them completely. They need to figure out their own finances." After Theodore died, Estelle's requests for money increased dramatically. "Mom, you have all this money now," Estelle would say. "Dad's life insurance, the house, the savings, you don't need all of it. Can you help us with a down payment for a house?" "Estelle, I need that money for my own expenses," I'd explain. "I'm 72. I could live another 20 years. I need to be careful." "You're being selfish," Estelle would accuse. "Dad would have wanted you to help family." But I held firm. I loved my daughter, but I wasn't going to give away my financial security. About 6 months after Theodore's death, Estelle started expressing concern about my ability to manage on my own. "Mom, are you sure you're okay living alone?" Estelle would ask during her visits. "This house is so big. What if something happens and you can't get help?" "I'm fine," I'd assure her. "I'm healthy, I have neighbors, I have my phone. I'm perfectly capable of living independently." "But you're forgetting things," Estelle would insist. "Last week you told me the same story twice. That's concerning." "Everyone repeats stories occasionally," I'd say. "That doesn't mean I'm incompetent." "Mom, I'm just worried about you," Estelle would say. "Maybe you should think about moving in with Floyd and me. We could take care of you." "I don't need to be taken care of," I'd respond firmly. "I'm doing just fine on my own." But Estelle kept pushing, and slowly, her concerns started to feel less like care and more like control. 1 year ago, Estelle convinced me to sign documents giving her financial power of attorney. Mom, it's just a precaution, Estelle explained. If something happens to you, if you have a stroke or an accident and can't make decisions, someone needs to be able to handle your finances, pay your bills, access your accounts. It's standard planning for people your age. But I'm healthy, I protested. I don't need someone else handling my money. It's just for emergencies, Estelle insisted. I won't use it unless I have to, but if you end up in the hospital, you'll be grateful someone can pay your bills while you recover. She made it sound so reasonable, so I agreed. Estelle took me to an attorney's office, an attorney she'd chosen. The attorney explained that power of attorney would allow Estelle to access my accounts and make financial decisions on my behalf if I became incapacitated. This document only takes effect if you're unable to make your own decisions, the attorney explained. As long as you're competent, you retain full control of your finances. That's what I was told. That's what I believed when I signed. What I didn't understand was that Estelle had specifically requested a durable power of attorney, the kind that takes effect immediately upon signing, not just during incapacity. And I didn't know that Estelle would start using that power of attorney immediately to drain my accounts. About 2 months after I signed the power of attorney, I started noticing unusual activity in my bank accounts. I'd check my online banking and see withdrawals I didn't recognize. $5,000 here, $3,000 there. Money moving from my savings to my checking, then disappearing. That's strange, I thought. I don't remember making these withdrawals. I called my bank to ask about the transactions. Mrs. Washington, those withdrawals were made by your authorized agent, the bank representative explained. My authorized agent? I asked, confused. Yes, Estelle Mitchell. She has power of attorney on your accounts. She's made several withdrawals over the past 2 months. My heart sank. She has access to my accounts. Yes, ma'am. The power of attorney document you signed gives her full access to withdraw funds, transfer money, make financial decisions on your behalf. But I'm not incapacitated, I protested. She's only supposed to use that in emergencies. I'm sorry, Mrs. Washington, but the power of attorney you signed is effective immediately. Your daughter has legal authority to access your accounts. I hung up, shocked and betrayed. Estelle had been taking my money without telling me. I called Estelle immediately. Estelle, the bank says you've been withdrawing money from my accounts, I said. What's going on? Mom, don't worry about it, Estelle said dismissively. I'm just managing some bills for you. I don't need you to manage my bills, I said firmly. I handle my own finances. How much have you taken? I haven't taken anything, Estelle said defensively. I've borrowed some money. Floyd and I were in a bind. I'll pay you back. How much? I demanded. About $15,000, Estelle admitted. But like I said, we'll pay you back. $15,000? I was shocked. Estelle, you stole from me. I didn't steal, Estelle said angrily. I have legal authority to access those accounts. And frankly, Mom, you have plenty of money. You're being selfish keeping it all to yourself when your family needs help. It's MY money, I said. I need it for my expenses, my medical care, my future. You had no right to take it without asking. I have every right, Estelle said coldly. I have power of attorney. Legally, I can do whatever I think is in your best interest. And right now, I think it's in your best interest to help your family. She hung up on me. After discovering Estelle had taken $15,000 from my accounts, I immediately tried to revoke the power of attorney. I called the attorney who'd prepared the documents. I want to revoke the power of attorney I gave my daughter, I told him. She's been taking money from my accounts without permission. Mrs. Washington, I'd be happy to help you revoke the power of attorney, the attorney said. However, I should mention that your daughter paid for my services, so there may be a conflict of interest. You might want to hire your own attorney. Fine, I said. What do I need to do? You'll need to sign a revocation document and notify your daughter and your bank that the power of attorney is no longer valid, the attorney explained. I found a different attorney and had revocation documents prepared. But when I tried to provide them to my bank and to Estelle, things got complicated. Estelle refused to acknowledge the revocation. "Mom, you can't revoke the power of attorney," Estelle claimed. "The attorney who prepared it said it's irrevocable." "That's not true," I said. "Any power of attorney can be revoked as long as I'm mentally competent." "But are you mentally competent?" Estelle asked pointedly. "You're 73 years old, you're forgetful, you repeat yourself. Maybe you're not capable of making this decision." "I'm perfectly competent," I insisted. "We'll let a doctor decide that," Estelle said ominously. 6 months ago, Estelle and Floyd had me evaluated by a doctor they chose, to assess my mental competency. "Mom, if you want to revoke the power of attorney, you need to prove you're mentally competent," Estelle said. "We've arranged for Dr. Curtis Green to evaluate you." The evaluation was brief, maybe 20 minutes. Dr. Green asked me some questions about dates, memory, and daily living activities. Some questions I answered easily. A few I struggled with because I was nervous, and the questions seemed designed to make me look confused. 2 weeks later, Dr. Green issued a report stating I had mild cognitive impairment and recommending that I not make major financial decisions without assistance from a trusted family member. The report wasn't strong enough to declare me incompetent, but it was enough for Estelle to argue I shouldn't revoke the power of attorney. "See, Mom," Estelle said when she showed me the report. "The doctor says you need help with financial decisions. The power of attorney stays in place. It's for your own good." "That evaluation was biased," I protested. "That doctor works with you." "Dr. Green is a respected physician," Estelle interrupted. "If you don't like his opinion, you're welcome to get evaluated by another doctor. But until then, I'm keeping the power of attorney for your protection." I felt trapped. Getting a second evaluation would cost money that Estelle was controlling through the power of attorney. Over the next several months, Estelle's withdrawals from my accounts became more frequent and larger. I'd check my online banking daily and see $8,000 withdrawal, home repairs; $6,000 withdrawal, medical expenses; $10,000 withdrawal, living assistance; $7,000 withdrawal, emergency funds. None of these expenses were for me. They were for Estelle and Floyd. By the time I finally got access to detailed bank statements 4 months ago, I realized Estelle had taken over $80,000 from my accounts in 10 months. My savings had been reduced from $150,000 to $70,000. I called Estelle, furious. "You've stolen $80,000 from me," I accused. "I haven't stolen anything," Estelle said calmly. "I've used your money for necessary expenses. You have medical bills, home maintenance, living costs. I'm managing your finances because you can't do it yourself." "What medical bills? What home maintenance?" I demanded. "I haven't had any of those expenses." "Mom, you're confused," Estelle said in that patronizing tone. "The doctor said you have cognitive impairment. You don't remember things correctly. Trust me, the money was spent appropriately." "Show me receipts," I demanded. "Show me proof of where the money went." "I don't have to show you anything," Estelle said. "I have power of attorney. I make the financial decisions now. And if you keep causing problems, Floyd and I will have to take more serious action to protect you from yourself." "What does that mean?" I asked, suddenly afraid. "It means we might need to pursue guardianship," Estelle said ominously. "If we can prove you're not competent to manage your own affairs, a judge can appoint us as your legal guardians. Then you won't have any control over your finances or your decisions. Think about that before you keep complaining." She hung up, leaving me terrified. 2 months ago, desperate and scared, I started reaching out for help. I called Adult Protective Services, a state agency that investigates abuse of vulnerable elderly people. "I need to report financial abuse," I told the intake worker. "My daughter has power of attorney over my accounts, and she's stolen over $80,000 from me." I'm so sorry you're experiencing this, Mrs. Washington, the worker said. We'll open an investigation. Someone will contact you within 72 hours. I also called an elder law attorney to discuss my options. Mrs. Washington, you can definitely revoke the power of attorney, the attorney confirmed. You'll need to file the revocation with the court and notify all relevant financial institutions. I can help you with that. But I have to warn you, if your daughter contests the revocation by claiming you're not mentally competent, you may need to undergo another evaluation to prove your competency. How much will this cost? I asked. My retainer is $5,000, the attorney said. The full case, including court filings and potential competency hearings, could cost $15,000 to $20,000. I didn't have access to that money. Estelle controlled my accounts. But I was determined to fight back. I started documenting everything, saving bank statements, making notes of conversations, gathering evidence of Estelle's theft. And then, 2 weeks ago, Estelle discovered what I was doing. 2 weeks ago, Estelle somehow found out I'd contacted Adult Protective Services and an attorney. Mom, I heard you've been making calls, Estelle said when she showed up at my house unannounced. Calling APS, calling lawyers, trying to cause trouble for Floyd and me. I'm not causing trouble, I said. I'm trying to protect myself from being robbed by my own daughter. You're making false accusations, Estelle said angrily. We haven't stolen anything. We've been managing your finances because you're not capable of doing it yourself, and now you're trying to create problems for us. The only problem is that you've taken $80,000 from my accounts, I said. We've used your money appropriately, Estelle insisted. But since you apparently can't understand that, Floyd and I have decided we need to take additional steps to protect you. What steps? I asked nervously. We're going to start monitoring your communications, Estelle said. We need to know who you're talking to and what you're saying. If you're making false accusations against us, we have a right to defend ourselves. You can't monitor my phone calls, I protested. That's private. Actually, we can, Estelle said. As your power of attorney, we have the right to ensure you're not being taken advantage of by scammers or manipulated by people who want to exploit you. We're going to review your phone records and possibly add monitoring to your phone plan. You can't do that, I said, horrified. Watch us, Estelle said, then left. 1 week ago, yesterday morning, I woke up and discovered my cell phone had no service. I tried to make a call. Nothing. I checked my phone settings. It said no service. I called my phone company from my landline. Mrs. Washington, your cell phone account was canceled yesterday, the customer service representative told me. Canceled by who? I asked, though I already suspected the answer. By Estelle Mitchell. She's listed as an authorized user on the account, and she called to cancel the service. She had no right to do that, I protested. I'm sorry, Mrs. Washington, but according to our records, she has authority on the account. If you want to dispute this, you'll need to come into a store with identification and ownership documentation. I hung up, shocked and furious. Estelle had cut off my phone to prevent me from calling for help. An hour later, Estelle and Floyd showed up at my house. Mom, we had to cancel your phone, Estelle said without apology. You've been making inappropriate calls to APS, to attorneys, to other people, making false accusations about us. We can't allow you to continue damaging our reputations with lies. They're not lies, I said. You've stolen from me. You're confused and making accusations based on faulty memory, Estelle said. So we've decided to limit your ability to communicate with people who might take advantage of your confusion. No more cell phone. If you need to make calls, you can use your landline, and we'll be monitoring those calls. You can't control who I talk to, I protested. We're your power of attorney, Floyd said, speaking for the first time. We're responsible for protecting you. That includes protecting you from making false accusations that could get you in legal trouble. If you can't call anyone, you can't cause problems. This is abuse, I said. This is isolation and financial exploitation. I'm calling the police. I reached for my landline phone, but Floyd stepped forward and unplugged it from the wall. "No, you're not," Floyd said coldly. "Estelle, go disconnect the landline from outside." Estelle left, and I heard her working on the telephone box outside my house. A few minutes later, when I tried the landline, it was dead too. They'd cut off both my phones. "If you can't call anyone, you can't cause problems," Estelle repeated Floyd's words. "Mom, you need to understand we're in charge now. We control your money, your house, your communication. You'll do what we say or things will get much worse. Do you understand?" I stood there holding my dead phones, realizing I'd been completely isolated and silenced by my own daughter. Estelle and Floyd left, taking my cell phone with them for safekeeping. I was alone, with no way to call for help, in my own home that I'd owned for 40 years. But they made a critical mistake. They assumed I'd give up. They assumed I'd be too scared or too helpless to find another way to get help. They were wrong. Before I continue, kindly subscribe now. Hit that like button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. What should Lettie do next? Should Estelle go to prison? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, Australia? Let me know. The morning after Estelle and Floyd cut off my phones, I woke up at 6 a.m. with a plan. They'd isolated me. They'd taken my cell phone and disconnected my landline. They thought they'd silenced me and could continue stealing my money without interference. But they'd forgotten something important. I didn't need my phone to get help. I just needed to get myself to someone who could help. At 7 a.m., I got dressed in comfortable walking shoes, a warm jacket, and took my purse containing my identification, bank statements, and the documentation I'd been secretly gathering about Estelle's theft. Then I walked out my front door and headed toward the police station 3 blocks away. It took me 20 minutes to walk there. I'm 74 and my arthritis slows me down, but I made it. And at 7:30 a.m., I walked into the police station and used a different line to report what had been done to me. The law's line. "I need to report financial abuse and unlawful imprisonment," I told the officer at the front desk. "My daughter has stolen over $80,000 from me, and yesterday she and her husband cut off my phones to prevent me from calling for help." The officer, Officer Geneva Martinez, looked up with immediate concern. "Ma'am, let's get you somewhere private where you can tell me everything," Officer Martinez said, coming around the desk and gently guiding me to an interview room. And for the next 2 hours, I told Officer Martinez everything. In that interview room, I laid out the complete story of Estelle's financial exploitation. "My daughter convinced me to sign a power of attorney 1 year ago," I explained. "She said it was just for emergencies, but she started using it immediately to withdraw money from my accounts without my knowledge or permission." "How much has she taken?" Officer Martinez asked, taking detailed notes. "Over $80,000 in 10 months, I said. "I have bank statements showing all the unauthorized withdrawals." I pulled out the documents I'd brought, months of bank statements with Estelle's withdrawals highlighted. Officer Martinez reviewed them carefully. "These withdrawals are all labeled as authorized agent transactions. Did you authorize any of these specific withdrawals?" "No," I said firmly. "Not a single one. Estelle never asked permission. She just took the money and claimed she was using it for my expenses. But none of these withdrawals were for me. They were for her and Floyd's personal use." "Do you have evidence showing the money wasn't used for your benefit?" Officer Martinez asked. "I have my own records of my actual expenses," I said, pulling out more documents. "My mortgage is paid off, so I have no house payment. My utilities average about $250 per month. My medical expenses are covered by Medicare with minimal copays. My groceries and other living expenses are maybe $800 per month total. There's no way I'm spending $8,000 a month like Estelle's withdrawals suggest." Officer Martinez nodded, making notes. "And you said they cut off your phones yesterday." "Yes," I confirmed. "When I tried to call Adult Protective Services and hire an attorney to stop the theft, Estelle found out. She and Floyd came to my house yesterday, canceled my cell phone service, and physically disconnected my landline. They told me they were preventing me from making false accusations and causing problems. They said if I can't call anyone, I can't report what they're doing. That's unlawful restraint and possibly false imprisonment, Officer Martinez said seriously. They're intentionally isolating you to continue the financial exploitation. What can you do? I asked hopefully. I'm going to take your full statement and forward this to our Financial Crimes Unit and to Adult Protective Services, Officer Martinez said. This appears to be financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult, which is a felony. We'll investigate and potentially file criminal charges. How long will that take? I asked. The investigation will take several weeks, Officer Martinez admitted. But in the meantime, I can help you take immediate steps to protect yourself. First, you need to revoke that power of attorney officially and notify your bank. Second, you should consider getting a restraining order to prevent Estelle and Floyd from accessing your home and accounts. I've tried to revoke the power of attorney before, I explained. Estelle claims I'm not mentally competent to make that decision. Did a court declare you incompetent? Officer Martinez asked. No, I said. A doctor Estelle chose said I have mild cognitive impairment, but no court has ruled on my competency. Then you absolutely have the right to revoke the power of attorney, Officer Martinez said firmly. You're legally competent until a court rules otherwise. We can help you get connected with legal aid services that can assist with the revocation and other protective measures. For the first time in months, I felt hope. Officer Martinez made several calls while I waited. Within an hour, a social worker from Adult Protective Services arrived at the police station to interview me. Her name was Opal Turner, and she specialized in financial exploitation cases. Mrs. Washington, I understand you made a report to APS 2 months ago, Opal said. I'm sorry it's taken this long to follow up. We're understaffed and have a backlog of cases. But Officer Martinez flagged your case as urgent given that your daughter has now cut off your communication. What can you do to help? I asked. I'm going to open an immediate investigation, Opal said. I'll contact your bank to freeze any further withdrawals under the power of attorney pending the investigation. I'll also arrange for an independent cognitive assessment to document that you're fully competent, which will help you revoke the power of attorney. Can you help me get my phones reconnected? I asked. Yes, Opal said. I'll contact your cell phone company and explain this is a case of elder abuse. We should be able to get your service restored today, and I can have someone repair your landline. What about the money Estelle stole? I asked. Can I get it back? That will depend on the investigation and potential criminal charges, Opal said. If your daughter is convicted of financial exploitation, the court can order restitution. You can also file a civil lawsuit to recover the stolen funds. I don't have money for a lawsuit, I said. Estelle controls my accounts. Legal aid can help, Opal assured me. And we'll work on getting you access to your own money. Mrs. Washington, I want you to know, what's been done to you is serious elder abuse. We take these cases very seriously. Your daughter is not going to get away with this. By noon that same day, Opal had contacted my cell phone company and explained the situation. Mrs. Washington, we're so sorry about what happened, the phone company's supervisor said when they called me at the police station. We've restored your service immediately, and we've removed Estelle Mitchell as an authorized user on your account. She will not be able to make any changes to your service going forward. Thank you, I said, tears of relief forming. The phone company also provided me with a new cell phone since Estelle had taken my old one, and they waived all fees. By 2 p.m., I had my phone service back, and a repair technician had reconnected my landline at my house. I was no longer silenced. I could call for help. I could report what was happening. I could fight back. That afternoon, Estelle called my newly restored cell phone. She was furious. Mom, what did you do? Estelle demanded. The bank just called saying my access to your accounts has been frozen. They said there's an investigation. Did you go to the police? Yes, I did, I said calmly. I walked to the police station this morning and filed a report for financial exploitation and unlawful restraint. Adult Protective Services is investigating you for elder abuse. You can't do that, Estelle shouted. I'm your power of attorney. I have legal authority. You had legal authority, I corrected. I'm in the process of revoking it, and even with power of attorney, you didn't have the right to steal $80,000 from me. I didn't steal anything, Estelle insisted. I used your money for legitimate expenses. Then you'll be able to prove that to the investigators, I said. Show them receipts for where every dollar went. Show them evidence the money was spent on my care and not on your personal expenses. There was silence on the line. Mom, if you pursue this, you're going to destroy our family, Estelle said, her voice turning threatening. Is that what you want, to send your own daughter to jail? I want you to stop stealing from me, I said. If that means you face consequences for what you've done, then yes, I'm willing to pursue this. You're making a huge mistake, Estelle said coldly. Floyd and I were trying to help you. Now you've turned on us. You're going to regret this. The only mistake I made was trusting you with my finances, I said. Goodbye, Estelle. I hung up, my hands shaking but my resolve firm. Over the next week, the investigation moved quickly. Day 2. The bank provided APS with complete records of all transactions on my accounts for the past year, including detailed information about Estelle's withdrawals. Day 3. Opal interviewed me again and had me provide a statement about my actual living expenses, which were documented at approximately $2,000 per month, far less than the $8,000 per month Estelle had been withdrawing. Day 4. I underwent an independent cognitive assessment with a geriatric psychiatrist who concluded I had no cognitive impairment and was fully capable of independent living and financial decision-making. The psychiatrist's report directly contradicted the earlier evaluation Estelle had obtained. Day 5. With the cognitive assessment proving my competency, I officially revoked the power of attorney through a court filing. My new attorney, provided through legal aid, filed the revocation and notified Estelle, Floyd, and all financial institutions. Day 6. Police interviewed Estelle and Floyd about the withdrawals. According to Officer Martinez, they claimed all money was spent on my care, but they couldn't provide receipts or documentation supporting their claims. Day 7. Opal completed her investigation and determined there was credible evidence of financial exploitation. She referred the case to the district attorney's office for criminal prosecution. Throughout this week, Estelle and Floyd continued trying to contact me, alternating between threatening me and trying to convince me to drop the investigation. Mom, you're going to regret this, Floyd said in one voicemail. We were taking care of you. Now you've made us your enemies. Mom, please, you're not thinking clearly, Estelle pleaded in another call. That cognitive assessment is wrong. You need us to manage your finances. Please don't do this to our family. I didn't respond to any of their calls. I'd said everything I needed to say. 2 weeks after I walked into the police station, the district attorney filed criminal charges against Estelle and Floyd. Estelle Mitchell was charged with theft felony for stealing over $80,000, financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult felony for abusing power of attorney, unlawful restraint misdemeanor for cutting off my phones to prevent me from reporting the abuse. Floyd Mitchell was charged with theft felony as an accomplice, unlawful restraint misdemeanor for disconnecting my phones. The charges carried potential sentences of up to 15 years in prison for Estelle and 12 years for Floyd. When Estelle and Floyd were arrested, it made the local news. The story of a daughter who stole from her elderly mother and then cut off her phones to silence her resonated with people. The community was outraged. In addition to the criminal charges, my legal aid attorney helped me obtain an emergency restraining order against Estelle and Floyd. The order prohibited them from coming within 500 feet of me or my home, contacting me by phone, email, text, or any other means, accessing any of my financial accounts, entering my property. This restraining order will protect you while the criminal case proceeds, my attorney explained. If Estelle or Floyd violate it, they'll be arrested immediately. What about after the criminal case? I asked. If they're convicted, you can request a permanent restraining order, the attorney said, and you can file a civil lawsuit to recover the stolen money. 3 weeks after charges were filed, Estelle and Floyd had their bail hearing. The prosecutor argued they should be held without bail. These defendants systematically stole over $80,000 from a vulnerable elderly victim, the defendant Estelle's own mother. When the victim attempted to report the abuse, the defendants cut off her phone service to silence her. They pose a danger to the victim and a flight risk given the serious charges they face. Estelle's attorney argued for low bail. My clients are parents and grandparents with no prior criminal record. They're not flight risks. The alleged victim is Ms. Mitchell's mother. There's no danger because they're family. That's precisely why there is danger, the judge, Judge Curtis Washington, said sharply. The defendants exploited their familial relationship to steal from the victim. They isolated her to continue the abuse. Family relationships don't excuse criminal conduct, they make it worse. Judge Washington set bail at $100,000 for Estelle and $75,000 for Floyd. They couldn't afford it. They remained in jail pending trial. Before I continue, kindly subscribe now. Smash that like button and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Should Estelle get the maximum sentence? Will Lettie get her money back? Where are you watching from? 4 months after I walked into the police station and used the LANDLINE to report my daughter's abuse, Estelle and Floyd's criminal trial began. They'd spent those 4 months in jail, unable to afford the $100,000 and $75,000 bail Judge Curtis Washington had set. During that time, the prosecutor built an overwhelming case against them. I spent those 4 months reclaiming my life. With the power of attorney revoked and my phones restored, I regained control of my finances. I changed all my bank passwords and security questions. I worked with my bank to implement additional protections on my accounts, and I started the process of recovering from the trauma of being exploited by my own daughter. Now it was time for justice. The trial was held in county criminal court, presided over by Judge Minnie Foster, a Black woman in her early 60s known for being tough on elder abuse cases. The prosecutor was District Attorney Geneva Patterson, a woman in her 50s who specialized in financial crimes. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, DA Patterson began in her opening statement, this case is about betrayal. Lettie Washington trusted her daughter Estelle with financial power of attorney, a legal tool meant to help elderly people during genuine emergencies. But Estelle Mitchell didn't use that power to help her mother. She used it to rob her mother of over $80,000 in 10 months. And when Mrs. Washington discovered the theft and tried to report it, Estelle and her husband Floyd cut off Mrs. Washington's phones, both her cell phone and her landline, to silence her and prevent her from calling for help, Patterson continued. They thought they could isolate a 74-year-old woman and continue stealing from her without consequences. They were wrong, Patterson said firmly. Mrs. Washington didn't give up. She walked to the police station and reported the crime, and now Estelle and Floyd Mitchell will face justice for what they've done. Estelle and Floyd's attorney was a public defender named Curtis Brooks, a man in his 40s trying to defend what was essentially an indefensible case. The prosecution wants you to believe this is a simple case of theft, Brooks said in his opening statement, but the truth is more complicated. Estelle Mitchell was managing her mother's finances under legal authority granted by her mother. She made financial decisions she believed were in her mother's best interest. Was she perfect? No. Did she make mistakes? Perhaps, but mistakes are not crimes. The money Estelle withdrew was used for legitimate expenses related to her mother's care, Brooks claimed. And when her mother became confused and started making false accusations, Estelle tried to protect her mother from making calls that could damage family relationships. That's not abuse. That's a daughter trying to help her confused mother. It was a weak argument, and Brooks knew it, but it was the best defense he could offer given the evidence. I was the prosecution's first witness. DA Patterson walked me through my entire story, from signing the power of attorney to discovering the theft to having my phones cut off. Mrs. Washington, when you signed the power of attorney, what did you understand it was for? Patterson asked. Estelle told me it was just for emergencies, I explained to the jury. She said if I had a stroke or an accident and couldn't make decisions, someone would need to be able to pay my bills and access my accounts. She promised she wouldn't use it unless I was incapacitated. Did you ever become incapacitated? Patterson asked. No, I said firmly. I've been healthy and capable of managing my own affairs this entire time. When did you first discover Estelle was taking money from your accounts? Patterson asked. About 2 months after I signed the power of attorney, I said. I was checking my online banking and saw large withdrawals I didn't recognize. When I called the bank, they told me Estelle had been withdrawing thousands of dollars using the power of attorney. Did Estelle ask your permission before making those withdrawals? Patterson asked. Never, I said. Not once. She just took the money without telling me. How much money did Estelle take over the course of 10 months? Patterson asked. Over $80,000, I said, my voice catching with emotion even after all these months. Mrs. Washington, what happened when you tried to stop the theft? Patterson asked. I tried to revoke the power of attorney, I explained. But Estelle fought back. She had me evaluated by a doctor who claimed I had cognitive impairment. She told me I wasn't competent to revoke the power of attorney. And when I contacted Adult Protective Services and tried to hire an attorney, Estelle and Floyd cut off my phones, both my cell phone and my landline, so I couldn't call for help. How did that make you feel? Patterson asked gently. Tears formed in my eyes. Terrified, helpless, trapped. My own daughter had stolen from me, and when I tried to stop her, she silenced me. I felt like I had no options, no way to get help. But you did find a way to get help, Patterson said. What did you do? I walked to the police station, I said. If I couldn't use my phone to call for help, I'd go in person. I used the law's line instead of my own phone line. Mrs. Washington, do you believe your daughter used the money she took for your benefit? Patterson asked. No, I said firmly. My expenses are about $2,000 a month. Estelle was withdrawing $8,000 a month. There's no way that money was spent on me. It was spent on her and Floyd. Attorney Brooks tried to make me look confused or incompetent during cross-examination. Mrs. Washington, you're 74 years old, correct? Brooks began. Yes, I confirmed. And you were evaluated by a doctor who found you had mild cognitive impairment, Brooks said. That evaluation was arranged by Estelle using a doctor she chose, I corrected. I later underwent an independent evaluation by a geriatric psychiatrist who found I have no cognitive impairment whatsoever. But at the time Estelle was managing your finances, there was a medical opinion that you needed help, Brooks pressed. A biased medical opinion based on a brief evaluation designed to make me look incompetent, I said. The independent evaluation was much more comprehensive and reached the opposite conclusion. Mrs. Washington, isn't it possible Estelle was genuinely trying to help you and you simply didn't understand what she was doing? Brooks suggested. No, I said firmly. I understood perfectly. She was stealing from me. And when I tried to stop her, she cut off my phones to silence me. That's not help, that's abuse. Mrs. Washington, you and your daughter had disagreements about money before this situation, didn't you? Brooks asked. We disagreed about how much financial help I could provide her, I admitted. Estelle wanted me to give her money for a house down payment. I said no because I needed my savings for my own future expenses, so she took the money without asking. Brooks had no good response to that. The prosecution's next witness was a forensic accountant named Opal Martinez, who'd analyzed all my bank records. Ms. Martinez, what did your analysis reveal? D.A. Patterson asked. Mrs. Washington's actual living expenses averaged $2,100 per month, Martinez testified. This included utilities, groceries, medical copays, home maintenance, and other standard expenses for someone in her situation. However, Estelle Mitchell was withdrawing an average of $8,000 per month from Mrs. Washington's accounts, Martinez continued. Over 10 months, she withdrew $81,700 total. Did you find evidence that this money was spent on Mrs. Washington's care? Patterson asked. No, Martinez said. I requested documentation from the defendants showing how the money was spent. They provided some receipts for legitimate expenses, a home repair, some medical bills, totaling approximately $6,300, but they couldn't account for the remaining $75,400. Where do you believe that missing $75,400 went? Patterson asked. Based on the defendant's financial records, which we subpoenaed, it appears the money was used for their personal expenses, Martinez said. During the time period Estelle was withdrawing large amounts from her mother's accounts, the defendants paid off credit card debts, made car payments, paid rent, and covered other personal expenses. So the defendants were essentially using Mrs. Washington's money as their personal bank account, Patterson clarified. Yes, Martinez confirmed. They stole from her to fund their own lifestyle. Estelle testified in her own defense, and it didn't go well for her. Ms. Mitchell, why did you withdraw money from your mother's accounts? Attorney Brooks asked. I was managing her finances, Estelle said. She has cognitive problems and can't handle money properly. I was making sure her bills were paid and she had what she needed. Did you use any of your mother's money for your own expenses? Brooks asked. Estelle hesitated. Sometimes I borrowed small amounts when Floyd and I were in difficult financial situations, but I always intended to pay it back. How much did you borrow? Brooks asked. I don't know exactly, Estelle admitted. Maybe 20 or 30,000 over time. D.A. Patterson's cross-examination was devastating. Ms. Mitchell, you just testified you borrowed $20,000 or $30,000, Patterson began. But the forensic accountant testified you took over $81,000. Which number is correct? I don't remember exactly how much, Estelle said. You don't remember whether you took $20,000 or $80,000 from your mother, Patterson pressed. That's quite a difference. I was managing a lot of finances, Estelle said defensively. I didn't keep perfect records. Ms. Mitchell, did you ask your mother's permission before taking this money? Patterson asked. I had power of attorney, Estelle said. I had legal authority. That's not what I asked, Patterson said. Did you ask your mother's permission? No, Estelle admitted, but I didn't need to. I was acting in her best interest. By taking her money to pay your credit card bills and your rent, Patterson asked pointedly. Those were temporary loans, Estelle claimed. Ms. Mitchell, did you ever pay back any of the money you borrowed? Patterson asked. Not yet, Estelle admitted, but I was planning to. When? Patterson pressed. After you'd taken all $150,000 of your mother's savings. Objection, Brooks said weakly. Sustained, Judge Foster said. Move on, Ms. Patterson. Ms. Mitchell, why did you and your husband cut off your mother's phones? Patterson asked. Mom was making false accusations about us, Estelle said. She was calling people and telling lies that could damage our reputations. We were trying to protect ourselves and protect her from embarrassing herself. So you cut off both her cell phone and her landline to prevent her from calling for help, Patterson clarified. We were preventing her from making calls that would hurt everyone, Estelle insisted. Ms. Mitchell, your mother testified she felt trapped and terrified when you cut off her phones, Patterson said. Did you care about how she felt? I was trying to help her, Estelle said. By stealing her money and silencing her when she tried to report the theft, Patterson asked. Objection, Brooks said. Withdrawn, Patterson said. No further questions. Floyd testified briefly, essentially echoing Estelle's claims that they were helping me by managing my finances. Mr. Mitchell, did you personally withdraw any money from Mrs. Washington's accounts? D.A. Patterson asked during cross-examination. No, Floyd said. Estelle handled the finances. But you benefited from the stolen money, didn't you? Patterson pressed. The money was used to pay your credit cards, your rent, your car payments. Estelle said the money was borrowed, Floyd said. I didn't know it was a problem. Mr. Mitchell, you were present when you and your wife cut off Mrs. Washington's phones, Patterson said. In fact, you physically unplugged her landline. Is that correct? Yes, Floyd admitted. Why did you do that? Patterson asked. Estelle said we needed to, Floyd said weakly. So when your wife said to silence your mother-in-law by cutting off her phones, you did it without question, Patterson asked. I trusted Estelle's judgment, Floyd said. Even when that judgment involved isolating a 74-year-old woman to prevent her from reporting a crime, Patterson pressed. Objection, Brooks said. Sustained, Judge Foster ruled. But the damage was done. The jury had heard enough. After 3 days of testimony, the case went to the jury. They deliberated for 5 hours. I sat in the courthouse waiting room with Adult Protective Services social worker Opal Turner, my hands shaking every time someone walked past. They have to convict, I said nervously. The evidence is overwhelming. It is, Opal agreed. But juries can be unpredictable. Try to stay calm. Finally, we received word. The jury had reached a verdict. We filed back into the courtroom. Estelle and Floyd sat at the defense table looking pale and tense. I sat in the front row of the gallery. Has the jury reached a verdict? Judge Foster asked. We have, Your Honor, the jury foreperson said, standing. What is your verdict on the charge of theft against Estelle Mitchell? Judge Foster asked. We find the defendant guilty, the foreperson announced. I gasped, relief flooding through me. What is your verdict on the charge of financial exploitation of a vulnerable adult against Estelle Mitchell? Judge Foster continued. We find the defendant guilty, the foreperson said. What is your verdict on the charge of unlawful restraint against Estelle Mitchell? Guilty. What is your verdict on the charge of theft against Floyd Mitchell? Guilty. What is your verdict on the charge of unlawful restraint against Floyd Mitchell? Guilty. Guilty on all counts. Complete conviction. Estelle started crying. Floyd put his head in his hands. Their attorney looked resigned. The defendants will remain in custody pending sentencing, Judge Foster announced. Sentencing is scheduled for 2 weeks from today. This court is adjourned. I sat there, tears streaming down my face, feeling vindicated and heartbroken all at once. My daughter was going to prison for stealing from me and silencing me, but justice had been served. 2 weeks after the guilty verdict, we reconvened for sentencing. D.A. Patterson recommended significant prison time. Your Honor, these defendants systematically stole over $80,000 from a vulnerable elderly victim over 10 months. When the victim tried to report the crime, they cut off her phones to silence her. This wasn't an impulsive mistake. It was calculated exploitation. We recommend 15 years for Estelle Mitchell and 12 years for Floyd Mitchell. Attorney Brooks argued for leniency. Your Honor, my clients have no prior criminal record. Their parents and grandparents. Ms. Mitchell genuinely believed she was helping her mother, even if she made poor decisions. We ask for probation and restitution rather than prison time. Judge Foster gave me the opportunity to make a victim impact statement. I stood, facing Estelle and Floyd, and spoke the words I'd been preparing for weeks. Estelle, you're my daughter, I began, my voice shaking. I gave birth to you, I raised you, I loved you, and when you needed help over the years, I helped you as much as I could, but it was never enough. You always wanted more. When your father died and I had some savings, you saw an opportunity, I continued. You convinced me to sign a power of attorney by promising you'd only use it in emergencies, but you used it immediately to steal from me. Over $80,000 in 10 months. Money I'd saved for my future medical care, my living expenses, my security. And when I discovered what you'd done and tried to stop you, you didn't apologize, I said, tears flowing now. You didn't return the money. Instead, you cut off my phones to silence me. You isolated me in my own home. You tried to trap me so you could keep stealing. You betrayed me in the worst way possible, I concluded. You exploited my trust, stole my money, and tried to silence me when I fought back. I hope you spend a long time in prison thinking about what you've done, because I will never forgive you for this. I sat down, emotionally exhausted. Judge Foster then delivered her sentence. Estelle Mitchell, you systematically exploited your own mother for financial gain, Judge Foster said sternly. You abused a position of trust to steal over $80,000, and when your victim tried to report your crime, you silenced her by cutting off her communication. This is among the most egregious cases of elder abuse I've encountered. On the charge of theft, I sentence you to 8 years in state prison, Judge Foster announced. On the charge of financial exploitation, I sentence you to 10 years to run concurrently with the theft sentence. On the charge of unlawful restraint, I sentence you to 1 year to run consecutively. Total sentence, 11 years in state prison. Estelle sobbed as the sentence was announced. Floyd Mitchell, you aided your wife in stealing from her mother, and you participated in silencing the victim, Judge Foster continued. On the charge of theft, I sentence you to 6 years. On the charge of unlawful restraint, I sentence you to 1 year consecutively. Total sentence, 7 years in state prison. Furthermore, Judge Foster added, I'm ordering both defendants to pay restitution of $81,700 to the victim, plus $15,000 in additional damages for emotional distress. The defendants will also be prohibited from contacting the victim for the duration of their sentences and for 5 years after release. The gavel came down. Estelle and Floyd were led away in handcuffs, both crying, to begin their prison sentences. Before I continue, kindly subscribe now, smash that like button, and turn on notifications. Drop a comment. Is 11 years enough for Estelle? Will Lettie ever heal from this? Where are you watching from? 1 year after I walked into the police station and used the laws line to report my daughter's abuse, I'm 75 years old and finally rebuilding my life. Estelle is currently serving year 1 of her 11-year sentence at the state women's prison. Floyd is serving year 1 of his 7-year sentence at a men's facility 2 hours away. And I'm living in my home, the home I've owned for 40 years, with complete control over my finances, my communication, and my life. But the journey from victim to survivor wasn't easy or straightforward. It required healing, legal battles, financial recovery, and learning to trust again after being betrayed by my own daughter. 3 months after Estelle and Floyd were sentenced, I started the process of collecting the court-ordered restitution. Judge Foster had ordered them to pay me $81,700 for the stolen money, plus $15,000 for emotional distress, a total of $96,700. But collecting money from people in prison with no assets proved complicated. Mrs. Washington, the defendants have no income or assets to seize, my attorney explained. While they're in prison, they can earn minimal wages, usually between 25 cents and $1.50 per hour for prison jobs. The court has ordered 25% of any prison wages to go toward restitution, but that will only amount to a few dollars per month. So I'll never get my money back, I asked, disappointed. Not while they're in prison, my attorney confirmed. However, after they're released, if they get jobs, we can garnish their wages, and if they ever acquire assets, a house, a car, a bank account, we can place liens on those assets. What about their current assets? I asked. They must have something. We've already filed liens on everything they own, my attorney said. But their assets are minimal. They rent their apartment, so there's no house to seize. They own one car worth about $3,000 with a loan balance of $2,500, so the equity is only $500. They have no savings or investments. We're working to liquidate what little they have, but you'll maybe recover $2,000 maximum from their current assets. So I received $2,000 from the liquidation of Estelle and Floyd's minimal possessions. The remaining $94,700 would have to be collected slowly over many years, if I ever collected it at all. The financial restitution is important, Opal Turner from Adult Protective Services told me. But Mrs. Washington, you've already won the most important victory. You stopped them. They can't hurt you anymore. They're in prison. You're free. That's worth more than money. She was right, but it still hurt knowing I'd probably never recover most of the money they stole. Despite the stolen money, I wasn't destitute. I still had my house, worth $320,000, fully paid off. Remaining savings of $68,000, down from $150,000 before Estelle's theft. Monthly income of $3,200 from Social Security and Theodore's pension. The $2,000 recovered from Estelle and Floyd's assets. It wasn't as much as I'd had before Estelle stole from me, but it was enough to live comfortably. With guidance from a financial advisor recommended by Adult Protective Services, I created a budget and a plan to rebuild my savings. Mrs. Washington, you're spending about $2,100 per month on living expenses, the advisor said. With your income of $3,200 per month, you have $1,100 surplus. If you save that surplus, you can rebuild your emergency fund within a few years. I also took steps to protect my remaining assets from future exploitation. Protection 1. Trusted contact person. I designated my sister Geneva, who lived 2 states away, but we were close, as my trusted contact for my bank accounts. If there was ever unusual activity, the bank would contact Geneva as well as me. Protection 2. Account alerts. I set up text and email alerts for every transaction over $500 on my accounts. Any large withdrawal would immediately notify me. Protection 3. No more power of attorney. I made the difficult decision never to grant power of attorney to anyone again. Instead, I worked with an elder law attorney to create a revocable living trust with professional trustees who would manage my affairs if I ever became incapacitated. This way, no family member can exploit you again, the attorney explained. Professional trustees have a fiduciary duty and are bonded and regulated. They can't steal from you like your daughter did. Protection 4. Regular financial reviews. I started meeting with a financial advisor every 6 months to review my accounts and ensure everything was appropriate. An independent professional would catch any problems I might miss. These protections gave me peace of mind that I was safe from future financial exploitation. Recovering financially was important, but recovering emotionally was harder. Mrs. Washington, what your daughter did to you was profound betrayal, my therapist, Dr. Minnie Green, explained during one of our weekly sessions. She exploited your trust, stole from you, and then silenced you when you tried to protect yourself. That kind of betrayal from a family member creates deep trauma. The trauma manifested in several ways. Anxiety about money and finances. Difficulty trusting people, even well-meaning helpers. Nightmares about being trapped and unable to call for help. Feelings of shame that I'd let this happen to me. You didn't let anything happen, Dr. Green corrected firmly. Your daughter manipulated you. She used your love and trust against you. That's not your fault, that's her crime. Through therapy, I slowly learned to forgive myself for trusting Estelle. Recognize the warning signs of financial exploitation. Set healthy boundaries with people. Ask for help without fear. Trust my own judgment. You survived, Dr. Green told me. Not just physically, but emotionally and financially. You fought back when many people in your situation would have given up. You walked to that police station when you had no other options. You testified in court against your own daughter because it was the right thing to do. That takes incredible strength. I didn't feel strong, I admitted. I felt terrified. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Dr. Green said. It's acting despite fear. You were terrified, but you acted anyway. That's courage. 6 months after Estelle was sentenced to 11 years in prison, I received a letter from her. The envelope had the prison's return address. I stared at it for 10 minutes before opening it, my hands shaking. Inside was a handwritten letter. Dear Mom, I've been in prison for 6 months now. Every day, I think about what I did to you. I've had a lot of time to reflect, and I finally understand how wrong I was. I told myself I was just borrowing money. I convinced myself you had plenty and wouldn't miss it. I rationalized that I was managing your finances for your own good. But those were all lies I told myself to justify stealing from you. When you tried to stop me, I should have admitted what I'd done and returned the money. Instead, I cut off your phones to silence you. I tried to trap you and control you. That was unforgivable. Mom, I'm so sorry. I know those words can't undo what I did. I know I can't return the years of savings I stole or the trust I destroyed. But I need you to know I understand now. What I did was evil. I exploited your love and trust. I hurt you in ways you may never recover from. I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. I just wanted you to know that I'm truly sorry, and I accept that I deserve to be in prison for what I did to you. I love you, Mom. I always did, even when my actions showed the opposite. I'm sorry for everything. Estelle. I read the letter 3 times, tears streaming down my face. Then I called my therapist. What should I do with this? I asked Dr. Green. Should I respond? Should I forgive her? That's entirely up to you, Dr. Green said. There's no right or wrong answer. Some people find forgiveness healing. Others find maintaining distance is healthier. What do you want to do? I don't know, I admitted. Part of me wants to believe she's genuinely sorry, but part of me wonders if this is just another manipulation, trying to make me feel guilty so I'll help her somehow. Those are both valid concerns, Dr. Green said. Take your time deciding. You don't owe Estelle a response, especially not immediately. Sit with your feelings. Figure out what you need for your own healing. I decided not to respond to the letter. At least not yet. Maybe someday I'd be ready to forgive Estelle and rebuild some kind of relationship. But 6 months after she was sentenced for stealing from me and silencing me, I wasn't ready. 1 year after I walked into the police station, my case had become somewhat well known in our community. The local news had covered the trial. Elder abuse advocacy groups had used my case as an example in their educational materials. Other elderly people who'd been financially exploited by family members had reached out to tell me their stories. Mrs. Washington, would you be willing to speak at our elder abuse prevention workshop? A representative from the area agency on aging asked me. Your story could help other seniors recognize the warning signs of financial exploitation. I agreed, and I gave my first public talk about what happened to me. My name is Lettie Washington, and my daughter stole over $80,000 from me, I began, addressing a room of about 50 senior citizens and their family members. She convinced me to sign a power of attorney by promising she'd only use it in emergencies, but she used it immediately to drain my bank accounts. I shared the warning signs I'd missed. A family member, suddenly becoming very interested in your finances. Requests for power of attorney, without clear medical necessity. Large unexplained withdrawals from your accounts. Family members trying to isolate you from friends or other family. Being pressured to sign documents without time to review them or get independent advice. When I discovered what my daughter was doing and tried to stop her, she cut off my phones to silence me, I continued. She thought if I couldn't call for help, I couldn't stop her from continuing to steal. But I found another way to get help, I said. I walked to the police station. If you're being financially exploited and someone has isolated you, walk to a neighbor's house. Go to a police station. Go to a bank. Find someone who can help you. Don't give up. My daughter is now in prison for 11 years, I concluded. She destroyed our relationship and she lost her freedom. And I lost over $80,000 and years of trust. Financial exploitation of elderly people isn't a victimless crime. It destroys lives and families. After my talk, several people approached me with their own stories of financial exploitation by family members. Some had reported it and gotten justice like I had. Others were still trapped in abusive situations, too scared or ashamed to seek help. "You've given me courage to report what's happening to me," one elderly woman told me, tears in her eyes. "My son has been stealing from me for 2 years. I was too ashamed to tell anyone, but hearing your story, that you fought back and won, makes me believe I can too." That moment made everything I'd been through feel worthwhile. If my story could help even one person escape financial exploitation, then my suffering had purpose. Healing from what Estelle did to me is an ongoing process. Some days are easier than others. I've learned to check my bank accounts daily, not obsessively, but carefully. Trust my instincts when something feels wrong. Ask for help from professionals, rather than family for financial matters. Set clear boundaries about money with family members. Recognize that what happened wasn't my fault. I've also learned to appreciate what I still have. My independence and freedom. My home and financial security. My ability to make my own decisions. My voice to speak up about abuse. My strength to fight back when necessary. "Mrs. Washington, you're a survivor," Opal Turner from APS told me during one of her follow-up visits. "Not just a victim who reported a crime, but a survivor who fought back, testified in court, and rebuilt her life. You should be proud of yourself." "I am," I said, and I meant it. "I'm Lettie Washington, 75 years old, and 1 year ago my daughter Estelle and her husband Floyd stole over $80,000 from me, then cut off my phones to silence me when I tried to report the theft. They thought if they silenced me, they could continue stealing without consequences. They thought a 74-year-old woman with no phone would give up and accept the abuse. They were wrong. The morning after they cut off my phones, I walked 3 blocks to the police station. I couldn't use my own phone line, so I used a different line, the law's line. I filed a police report. I cooperated with Adult Protective Services. I testified in court, and I watched my daughter and son-in-law get convicted and sentenced to 11 and 7 years in prison, respectively. Did I get all my money back? No. I recovered $2,000 from their liquidated assets, and I'll maybe collect the rest over many years through garnished wages, or maybe I never will. Did I repair my relationship with my daughter? No. Estelle is in prison, and while she's written to apologize, I'm not ready to forgive her. Maybe someday, but not yet. But did I win? Yes, absolutely yes. I stopped them from continuing to steal from me. I protected my remaining assets. I reclaimed my independence and my voice. I helped educate other seniors about financial exploitation. And I proved that even at 74 years old, even after being isolated and silenced, I could fight back and win. My family cut off my phone to silence me, but the next morning, I used a different line, the law's line, and I made sure my voice was heard. Estelle and Floyd tried to trap me. They failed. I'm free and they're in prison. That's justice. And to any elderly person reading this who's being financially exploited by family members, you're not alone, you're not helpless, and you're not too old to fight back. Find your voice. Use whatever line you can, your own phone, a neighbor's phone, or like me, walk to the police station and use the law's line. Report the abuse. Cooperate with investigators. Testify in court if necessary. Protect yourself and your assets. It won't be easy. It might mean sending a family member to prison like I did. But you deserve to live free from exploitation and abuse, no matter who the abuser is. I fought back at 74, so can you. My family tried to silence me, but I found another way to speak, and my voice helped put my abusers in prison where they belong. That's my story. That's my victory, and I hope it gives courage to others facing similar abuse. You have a voice. Use it. Find a way to be heard, and fight for your freedom and your dignity. You deserve nothing less. 1 year later, Lettie has rebuilt her life. Estelle serving year 1 of 11-year sentence in women's prison. Floyd serving year 1 of 7 years. Lettie living in her house with complete control over finances, communication, life. But recovery wasn't easy. Restitution battle difficult. Judge ordered $96,700, $81,700 stolen, plus $15K emotional distress. But defendants have no assets. Prison wages only $0, $25 one, 50/hour with 25% going to restitution, only few dollars per month. Liquidated their minimal assets. Rented apartment, no house. One car worth $3K with $2.05K loan, only $500 equity, no savings. Lettie recovered only $2,000 from liquidation. Remaining $94,700 will be collected slowly over years through wage garnishment if they get jobs after release. Opal Turner. You've won most important victory, you stopped them. They can't hurt you anymore. They're in prison, you're free, worth more than money. Lettie still has $320K house, paid off. $68K remaining savings, down from $150K, $3,200 monthly income. Created protections. 1. Sister Geneva as trusted contact on accounts. 2. Text email alerts for any transaction over $500. 3. No more power of attorney. Created revocable living trust with professional trustees who can't exploit her. 4. Regular financial reviews every 6 months. Emotional recovery harder. Therapy with Dr. Minnie Green for trauma. Anxiety about money. Difficulty trusting. Nightmares about being trapped. Shame. Dr. Green. Your daughter manipulated used your love against you. Not your fault, HER crime. You survived, fought back when many would give up. You walked to police station with no options. Testified against own daughter because it was right. That's courage. 6 months after sentencing, Lettie received letter from Estelle in prison. Mom, I've had time to reflect. I finally understand how wrong I was. I told myself I was borrowing, convinced myself you had plenty. But those were lies to justify stealing. When you tried to stop me, I should have returned money. Instead, I cut off phones to silence you. That was unforgivable. I'm so sorry. I exploited your love and trust. I don't expect forgiveness. I deserve prison. I just need you to know I understand now what I did was evil. Lettie called therapist. Should I respond? Should I forgive her? Dr. Green. That's up to you. Some find forgiveness healing, others find distance healthier. Take your time. Lettie decided not to respond, not ready to forgive. 1 year later, Lettie's case became well known. News covered trial, advocacy groups used as example. Area Agency on Aging asked Lettie to speak at elder abuse prevention workshop. Lettie shared warning signs. Family suddenly interested in finances, POA requests without medical necessity, large unexplained withdrawals, isolation from friends, pressure to sign documents. When I discovered theft and tried to stop, daughter cut off phones. Thought if I couldn't call, I couldn't stop her. But I found another way, WLKD 2 police station. If you're exploited and isolated, walk to neighbor, police, bank, find someone to help, don't give up. After talk, elderly woman approached crying. You've given me courage. My son has been stealing for 2 years, too ashamed to tell anyone. Your story makes me believe I can fight back too. Made Lettie's suffering feel worthwhile. Healing continues. Learn to check accounts daily, trust instincts, ask professionals, not family, for financial help, set boundaries, recognize not her fault. Appreciates what she has. Independence, freedom, home, security, voice, strength. At 75, Estelle wrote apologizing but Lettie not ready to forgive. Recovered only $2K of $80K, may never get rest. But SHE1 stopped them, protected assets, reclaimed independence and voice, helped educate other seniors, proved at 74 she could fight back and win. Family cut off phone to silence her, but she used different law's line, and made her voice heard. Estelle and Floyd tried to trap her, failed. She's free, they're in prison. That's justice. This story proves that. Sparkle's age doesn't mean helplessness. 74-year-old defeated financial exploiters. Silence can be broken, even when phones are cut. Walking to police station is using the law's line. Financial exploitation by family is criminal elder abuse. Power of attorney can be dangerous weapon in wrong hands. Fighting back protects you, even if you don't recover all money. Professional trustees, safer than family for financial management. Your voice matters. Use whatever line you can to be heard. If this story inspired you, please subscribe to this channel for more justice stories. Smash that like button. Turn on notifications for new content. Drop a comment. Should Lettie ever forgive Estelle? Is 11 years enough punishment? Where are you watching from? United States, Canada, United Kingdom, Jamaica, South Africa, Australia, Trinidad, India, Philippines? Let me know. Remember, if family is financially exploiting you, report it. Walk to police, call APS, tell bank, ask neighbor for help. Power of attorney can be revoked. Document everything. Get independent cognitive assessment. Hire attorney through legal aid. Don't let them silence you. Even if they cut your phone, walk to police station and use the law's line. You're never too old to fight back. Your voice matters. Lettie's daughter stole $80K, then cut off her phones to silence her. But at 74, Lettie WALKED to police station and used law's line. Filed report, cooperated with investigation, testified in court. Estelle sentenced 11 years, Floyd 7 years. 1 year later, Lettie free and thriving with protections. Estelle in prison. Lettie proved age doesn't equal helplessness. Justice SERVED. Thank you for following this powerful journey from exploitation to silence to using the law's line to complete justice. Until the next story, use your voice, protect your assets, and remember that there's always another line you can use to be heard.